I love animation, obviously. It would be pretty weird for me to make this video if I wouldn't like animation. And I think now more than ever animation has a very crucial point in where storytelling goes. Especially with the rise of AI, I'm of the opinion that animation needs human touch. Because for better or worse, animation is the first contact kids have with the art of storytelling. You might think, or you might say, books are on the same importance, and I completely agree. Books are extremely important. But on a wide scale, animation it's pretty much the way kids are gonna interact with the medium of storytelling. And we should see how the animation state is right now in the year of 2026. What a better place to start than with Sony Pictures Animation. And yes, we live in a very, very strange time because Sony Pictures, the studio that made the Emoji Movie, it's now the queen of animation. Just think that after Emoji Movie they made Spider-Verse, and nobody thought it's gonna be more than that, more than a one-time thing. Everybody gets that shining in the bottle and then goes away. But then they made Mitchells, and then they made K-pop Demon Hunters, and then they made Fix. And some of you don't like Fix, I get it, but even if you hate it, it still shows that Sony Pictures is willing to take some risks. Which, sorry to say, today I got the information that Sony just cancelled the movie from the creator of Amphibia, which makes me think that maybe Sony didn't learn all the lessons, and also they didn't really have any faith in K-pop Demon Hunter since they put it on Netflix and not in the cinema. So they are not saints by any means, but they still know how to do some very, very beautiful animation and some stories that have some meat on the bone. So what are they cooking in 2026? And that movie is GOAT, which I don't really enjoy as much as some people do. What I'm trying to say is that most sports movies feel stuck in the same formula. There's always a character who starts off underestimated or clearly behind everyone else. People doubt them, they struggle, they train harder than anybody, and eventually they prove themselves. By the end, everyone realizes they were just as good all along. It works because it's satisfying, but it's predictable, and I wish to see GOAT as a story that pushes the sports movies forward, the way Car Street did by shifting the mentor perspective, or the way Surf's Up told a familiar underdog story through a completely different mockumentary style. There is the possibility of growing, but I don't think GOAT is gonna grow. I think GOAT is gonna follow the exact same pattern as all the other movies before. Especially considering how much involvement Stephen Curry has in this movie. He's even calling it his movie, which says a lot about how hands-on he's been with it. And even Sony Pictures Animation puts that many eggs in his basket, it feels less like a creative risk and more like a safe financial bet. Maybe I'm wrong, but when that much brand power is attached to a project, it usually means the movie is going to play it safe. But it's Sony, it's gonna be eye-catching, the animation is gonna look great, the action is gonna be amazing, and it's gonna be a fun flick, and that's 100% sure. But it's not gonna be my cup of tea, and I think it's gonna be like a 3 out of 5 movie. But does that bring down the standards of Sony? No. I mean, everybody knows that next year with Beyond the Spider-Verse, they're gonna take all the awards again, like with K-pop, and they're gonna be back on the throne. So there is not really a huge problem there. The problem comes in the fact that we're not gonna remember 2026 as the year that Sony pushed again animation, which I'm sure they could, but they still trying to play it safe for some reason, even though they saw success in some risk taking, even though they always play safe. So, leaving Sony behind, let's go with DreamWorks. I love DreamWorks. DreamWorks is my favorite studio, and I think they make some of the best movies. And I was so happy that they jumped the wagon very fast into the new art style with Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish, and Bad Guys. This year they are making Forgotten Island, and that's my most anticipated movie of the year. Why, you might say? Well, pretty goddamn easy. Imagine that. The creator of The Last Wish is making a movie. And not just that, it's gonna be an original movie. So just put that in perspective. Especially now that DreamWorks is trying to put their finger in the live action market with How to Train Your Dragon and Gabby the Dollhouse movie. And now more than ever, it's important for DreamWorks to really push their original animated slate. They've built serious momentum with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Wild Robot, The Bad Guys, and Dogman. No Forgotten Island has serious potential to take all the awards this year. They are on a creative streak right now. If they really keep betting on bold, original storytelling instead of playing it safe, they are going to clean up all the awards. And you can quote me on that. So, after that, Disney. I love Disney animation a lot. I mean, for most of animation history, Disney wore the crown. Animation was basically synonymous with Disney for decades. They defined the standard, the prestige, the identity of the medium. So now seeing them struggle the way they have recently feels strange. When you grow up with a studio being the face of animation, it's surreal, watching that dominance sleep and the landscape shifting around them. Especially because I'm 100% sure it's not the artist the problem, but it's the old Disney environment and whatnot. So now they are making Hexed, and I genuinely hope with all my heart that it's a success. Because if not, we are in for the sequel wagon, especially now that Zootopia 2 made so much money and Inside Out 2 made again so much money. I think the era of trying something new, it's slowly dying, especially with the failures of Strange World and Wish. So, if we want to see more original movies, we might as well put all our eggs in the Hexed basket. And luckily for us, Hexed looks good, at least from the concept art. And I do hope for the best, because if not, Frozen 19, here we come. And unfortunately, the same goes for Pixar. Pixar now is in the family-friendly movie era, which it's kinda sad because we all loved Pixar for being more adult in their movie making. But now they are again very much going in the coziness of this art style that's very much bubbly and kids friendly, but it doesn't capture the same Pixar essence. And again, they are making Toy Story 5, and Toy Story 5 is gonna make money. There are two things certain in life: you're gonna die, and Toy Story 5 is gonna make the $1 billion. So, what's the hope? Well, they also make Hoppers this March, and it looks great. I think Hoppers is gonna be the best movie in this family type movies they are making with Turning Red, Elio, and Luca. So, Hoppers is gonna be this animal killing other animal type of story. It looks extremely interesting and reminds me of the Wild Robot, and everything that reminds me of the Wild Robot, it's a smash. So, even though I'm almost sure this movie isn't going to break the 500 million mark at the box office, I still hope it proves to Pixar Animation that there's still room for new original ideas. Because if this underperforms while Toy Story 5 cruises past $1 billion, that sends a very clear message about what's a safe bet. And if that happens, even with something like Gato in development, Pixar originals might become few and far between. But before we go to the next studio, let me just... Lizard, 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 lizard. Now that we are back to the good parts of the industry, let's stop at the Laika Studio. Laika Studio you might know as the best and one of the last studios that still make stop motion. I love Laika. So, keeping on the stop motion, we have Aardman Animation, and this year they are blessing us with another Shaun the Sheep entry, this time with a Halloween flavor, and honestly that's always so in. I've never had the closest relationship with Aardman's films. I can respect the craft and the insane level of talent, even if Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget wasn't really my thing, and the recent Wallace and Gromit Vengeance Most Howl didn't fully click with me either. They always know how to deliver when it comes to Shaun the Sheep. Those films just work. Simple, clever, visual storytelling at its purest. And at the end of the day, it's always good to see more stop motion out there. And now we are going to some of the least lovable studios with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers have made so many changes again and again and again. At this point, I don't even know what Warner Brothers Animation really is. So yeah, it's very complicated with Warner Brothers right now. They are taking another big swing at animation with the cat in the hat, and I'll admit, it looks interesting, at least on paper. But I'm sorry, the trailer didn't do it for me. The animation in the imaginary world has some flair, sure, but the real world scenes, yeah, they look way too close to Boss Baby, and that's not exactly a comparison you want. It feels safe, familiar, a little too polished in that generic studio way. Casting Bill Hader as the cat is cool, especially after that chaotic SNEL Dr. Seuss style short he did, and honestly, that energy might have made for a more daring adaptation. Maybe I'm wrong, I hope I am, but right now it feels like this could flop, and that would be a shame because of the artists behind it are insanely talented. The real mess isn't them, it's the instability and confusion surrounding Warner Brothers as a whole. Now let's go to Paramount Animation and Nickelodeon Animation together. They are making Aang the Avatar movie. And that sounds great. Is no, not really, because they pulled the plug, they took it from the cinema and they threw it on the streaming service. Yep, they didn't trust the Avatar franchise. Maybe the only franchise that actually makes money for them. After SpongeBob and after the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But honest to God, please stop making SpongeBob movies. Just let SpongeBob go. I don't know who these movies are made for and who is going to watch them, but just stop making SpongeBob movies, please. And put Aang the movie in theaters, where it belongs. And we need the Avatar franchise back to when it was good. And the Netflix live action adaptation is not that. It's not good. We should go to Netflix. And Netflix has Steps, another twist on the Cinderella formula. And I honestly don't know what to think. It looks fine, not bad, not exciting, just one of those put it on for the kids while you scroll on your phone kind of movies. I could see landing at a very safe 2.5 or 3 out of 5. But then, there's the Skydance animation deal with Netflix. Since Sony now actually trusts their movies to put them in the cinema, Netflix needed somebody to actually give them the movie. And Skydance were there to grab. And Swapped, the first movie, looks like it could be decent, a few laughs, nothing groundbreaking, maybe a solid 3.5. But then we have Reagan, and that's the interesting one. It's directed by Brad Bird, the guy behind The Incredibles, and with him involved, there's actually a real chance Skydance delivers something special. Because let's be honest, Luck and Spellbound weren't it. And Brad Bird brings vision, sharp storytelling, and confidence. If Reagan hits, it could finally give Skydance the identity they've been missing. Illumination. Let's make it quick, I don't want to spend any more time on this than needed. They will make Minions 3. Or Minions and Monster, how is it called? It's gonna make money. That's 100% sure, no doubt about it. Then they're gonna make Super Mario Galaxy. That's gonna make even more money than Minions. Why? Because brand alone prints cash. They are shiny, colorful, loud, engineered for mass appeal. And yes, sometimes it feels frustrating because it reinforces the idea that low-effort storytelling can still dominate the box office. Why take any risk when safe, simple movies make billions? That's part that feels toxic for the industry. Not that they succeed, but what their success signals to executives about what's worth investing in creatively. So now that we talked about all of those studios, we can talk about some European studios. Yeah, Europe. That continent still exists. Most of the animated movies that I'm excited for, they're gonna be announced at Annecy in France. So before we go any further, there are 4 animated films that completely caught my attention. Some for the right reason and one for very, very wrong ones. So let's start strong with Mui and the Handsome General, made by the studio behind Primal. And that alone should get your interest. This looks beautiful, and I mean beautiful. Painterly backgrounds, fluid to the animation, mythic tone, emotional weight. Studio La Cache knows how to make movement feel alive. If they bring even half the intensity they brought to Primal, this could be something really special. It looks epic, but still have that emotional but not melodramatic tone. Right now, this feels like it could be a great time. And then we have Julien from Carton Salon, a studio that almost never misses. Yeah, their last film outside the Irish folklore, My Father's Dragon, wasn't really my cup of tea. It didn't hit me the way Wolfwalker or Song of the Sea did, but Julien, this looks like it's bringing me back on the cartoon Sonor ride. It's colorful, it's expressive, it's fully 2D, and we need more 2D animated films in theaters. And what excites me the most is that they are stepping outside the Irish mythology again, but this time looks more confident, more stylized, and more emotionally focused. If it lands, it could remind people why Cartoon Salon is one of the most important animation studios working today. And then you have Asterix, The Kingdom of Nubia. So look, I love the recent Netflix revival energy they brought to Asterix. It was fun, dynamic, and understood the tone of the comic. And honestly, I will always go on an adventure with Asterix and Obelix. This one looks like a solid ride. Big scale, colorful setting, but let's be real, this is probably gonna be a 3 out of 5 movie. Fun? Yes. Life changing? Probably not. And that's okay. Not every animated movie needs to redefine the medium. Sometimes you just want wild boar, romance flying through the air, and good comic timing. So now we go to Animal Farm, the one that hurts. I was excited when I heard that they're adapting Animal Farm. Animation plus politic allegory? That could be powerful. But based on the trailer alone, like this looks like it completely misunderstood the assignment. The original story by George Orwell, it's dark, satirical, brutal, uncomfortable. And what we're getting looks sanitized. Bright, kid-friendly, strip of bite. It feels like it took a razor-sharp politic allegory and turned it into a safe, marketable, soulless version. And that's disappointing, especially when you have talented people involved. This was a chance to make something bold. Instead, it looks like it played it safe. And that hurts more than if it was just bad. So, besides all that, this year shapes to be an interesting one. Shapes to be the fight between sequels and original ideas. And I do hope original ideas make it out alive, just so they can drag a few more years of original ideas out of the dying Hollywood state. Also, thank you for watching the video. It's my first time doing it. It might not be perfect, I know, I'm aware, but I put so much soul and love in it. And I hope you can see it and support it. And see you next time.